This week on Africa Weekly, we meet an Ivorian refugee in Spain, one of at least 53,000 migrants who have risked their lives this year making the perilous passage across the Mediterranean. And we take you to Uganda, where legendary Japanese film Rashomon is getting a Ugandan adaptation from the capital's Wakaliwood studios. But first, a summary of the stories that made the headlines this week.
Président de la République démocratique du Congo, Monsieur Tshisekedi Tshilombo Félix.
Celebrations as opposition leader Felix Tshisekedi was declared the provisional winner of the Democratic Republic of Congo's controversial presidential election on Thursday. The surprise result was swiftly denounced by his opposition rival and runner-up Martin Fayulu, who said he would contest the results, as protests erupted that have left at least 4 people dead. The country's powerful Catholic Church said the results did not reflect the data its observers collected from polling stations. Tshisekedi heads the Union for Democracy and Social Progress, the country's oldest and largest opposition party, which was founded and led by his father. President Joseph Kabila's hand-picked successor, Emmanuel Ramazani Shadary, had been widely expected to be declared victor.
The time has finally come. The long-awaited day has arrived. The day when the army has decided to stand by its people to save Gabon from chaos.
In a state radio broadcast early Monday morning, Gabonese soldiers called on the people to rise up and announced plans for the formation of a National Restoration Council as ailing President Ali Bongo was being treated abroad. The announcer identified himself as a deputy commander of the Republican Guard and head of a group called the Patriotic Youth Movement of the Gabonese Defense and Security Forces. But security forces stormed the building, capturing the rebel chief, killing 2 of his team, and freeing journalists and technicians who had been held hostage and forced to help produce the broadcast. The following day, the country's prime minister visited Libreville's Radio-Télévision Gabonaise, the site of the failed coup. Political change in Gabon has been negligible for more than half a century, and the country has been without an effective government since October, when President Ali Bongo suffered a stroke while visiting Saudi Arabia. Hundreds of people gathered in Khartoum on Wednesday for the first rally held in support of President Omar al-Bashir's embattled regime since protests erupted in the country. The president himself addressed demonstrators.
I salute again everybody who is gathering here in this square. In fact, this gathering sends a message to those who think that Sudan will become like other countries that have been destroyed.
At a rival anti-government demonstration on the same day, riot police fired tear gas at protesters in Khartoum's twin city Omdurman. Analysts have described the protests as the biggest threat yet to Bashir's regime. They were triggered by the government decision to triple the price of bread at a time when the economy is struggling. The government said that at least 22 people have died in the protests, but human rights groups claim the figure to be higher. Madagascar's newly elected president, Andry Rajoelina, celebrated the confirmation of his victory in the country's presidential election on Tuesday, after the Malagasy High Court rejected all fraud accusations by his rival Marc Ravalomanana. Rajoelina, who will be inaugurated as president on January 25th, and Ravalomanana have been locked in a fiercely personal duel for power, coming first and second in the first round vote in November. Ravalomanana accepted his defeat and called for an end to the incitement to hatred and provocation in all its forms. Thousands of Mauritanians took to the streets of Nouakchott on Wednesday to participate in a march against hateful and extremist speech between ethnic communities. Mauritanians were given a paid day off so they could attend the rally, the first led by President Ould Abdelaziz since he came to power in a coup in 2008. Aziz called for the gathering in response to ongoing combative disputes on social networks, including WhatsApp, between the country's Arab Berber community and the Haratines, former slaves and their descendants. The opposition declined an invitation to the rally, calling for a national dialogue to find more sustainable solutions.
Abu, an 18-year-old from Ivory Coast, is one of nearly 53,000 migrants to have arrived in southern Spain this year, more than triple the number last year. He got to Almería on October 19th and is now in Madrid. His journey to Europe took 2 years, travelling across northern Africa and finishing with a gruelling boat trip across the Mediterranean.
The women were crying, even the men were crying. I wasn't crying, but my heart wasn't at ease. I thought my life was over. Really, I thought it was over.
Abu was rescued by lifeguards and now wants to get a job and Spanish residency papers. But many don't get this far. On Barbate Beach, this improvised altar remembers 23 young Moroccans who died trying to reach Spain in November. They're just a few in a long list of close to 700 victims this year. That's 3 times the number last year, and it's on the rise.
When we had recovered almost all the bodies from this boat in which they were traveling, we got the news that a new body of a woman had appeared, a woman from sub-Saharan Africa.
The shortest crossing from Africa to Spain is only 14 kilometres, and it's become the most popular route to Europe. Though relatively short, it's an abyss for the rickety boats that mafias sell to migrants. And authorities fear that seasonal bad weather will not deter many from making this perilous journey.
In weather conditions that aren't great, in a changeable sea where there are strong currents, where fog can fall. Frankly, it's a very dangerous trip.
Some of those who didn't make it are buried in this cemetery in Tarifa, most of them unidentified. The oldest grave contains the remains of 9 migrants who died in the Mediterranean in 1988.
Kampala's Wakaliga slum has been the home of Uganda's movie industry for the past 13 years. Over 50 low-budget films have been made so far at the Wakaliwood Film Studios, located in filmmaker Isaac Nabwana's backyard. His latest project is an adaptation of Rashomon, the Oscar-winning Japanese film from 1950 by legendary director Akira Kurosawa, which explores the subjective perception of truth through the eyes and memories of witnesses.
It is a story, I think, of all times, because it is around 70 years. And if you watch it, it is exactly what we go through. Women, men, being, not honest to each other. It is that betrayal. It is, killing innocent people. I decided to do it and then call it Boda Boda Kira.
Famous for his action and witchcraft stories, Isaac and his team are masters of special effects and DIY props. Though the adaptation of Kurosawa's drama is a break from the norm, like all their films, the target audience remains the slum population. And lead actor Apollo is sure they will like it.
I love it because I was surprised because this kind of movie, I don't think it is there in Uganda. It will be the first movie like this kind of. So I know the Ugandans will love it.
The idea for the film came from French contemporary artist Louis Cyprien Rial, a long-standing fan of Wakaliwood movies. He won funding through the Sam Art Prize, an NGO that supports artistic collaborations between Europe and non-Western countries.
We will exhibit this project in Palais de Tokyo for 2 months, from February to May 2019 in Paris. I will be very happy to screen this film in any places of interest, in Japan, for example, for sure, but also in Africa, because there is really a moving thing into African cinema right now. So I think it's also a part of African cinema.
The average budget for a Wakaliwood film is just $200, and actors sell the DVDs on the streets as well as online to earn money. With the Ugandan version of Rashomon, the team is dreaming big, hoping it will gain recognition far and wide, and maybe even an Oscar nod.
The Egyptian football delegation in Dakar celebrated news that Egypt will host the 2019 African Cup of Nations. Egypt only entered the running to host the Cup of Nations when fellow North African country Morocco announced they would not bid to do so. And 26-year-old Liverpool striker Mohamed Salah added to a memorable day for Egyptian football by retaining his African Player of the Year award in Senegal.
When I was young, I always had a dream to win this award. Now I won it twice, so I'm happy about that. But really, I would love to win the African nation in Egypt, especially when you play in home and with your people, and everyone is very excited. So we will do our best to win it in Egypt.
That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.